Hello, my name's Ian Moore. I conduct walking tours to central Sunderland. Today I'm going to talk about one of my tours, which is Lost Cinemas of Sunderland Town Centre. You might have seen Tony Gillen from the Echoes video about cinemas, the history of the cinemas in Sunderland Town Centre. I'm a bit older than Tony, so I want to talk about my memories of what it was like going to the cinema in the early 60s. Now, just talking about language, we never used to say, I'm going to the cinema. Everybody would say, I'm going to the pictures. I mean, previous generations might have said talking pictures, even your grandparents, great-grandparents. Nobody used the word movie in the early 60s, late 60s, yes. I remember one of my classmates at Chester Road Juniors getting severely chastised for saying my friend and I went to the Flicks. Flicks was a bit of a rough word, apparently. So the cinema behind us is now the Point. So when I used to go there, late 50s, early 60s, it was called the Ritz. And we kids, we tended to use the words that my mother used for the cinemas, even though they changed. So in 1961, this became the ABC. And I mainly remember the ABC for going to the 6:20 matinees on Saturday morning. Now, anybody under 55, you might be wondering what exactly a sixpence is. So it's 2.5 pence in modern money, and it looks just like this. Now, having a look at this now, it seems extremely small, but if you had a sixpence in the early 60s, you were really doing okay. You could buy quite a lot of things for sixpence. There was also a coin, a halfpenny, a halfpence, which was a twelfth of the value of a sixpence. So if you went to a sweet shop, must have drove the people in the sweet shops mad, would say, what have you got for a penny? And they'd go, oh God. And they'd rattle off 6 Midget James, 4 Blackjacks, 3 seafood, whatever it was. And then the next queue would ask the same thing. So you could get quite a bit for a sixpence, you were doing well. So it was sixpence to get in. What kind of program did it have? Well, there were very few adults. You might have had a few parents taking little kids, but mainly kids under 11 in my memory. So you'd have loads of cartoons, and the kids would go mad when they'd see Bugs Bunny's face at the beginning. Everybody was champing and shouting and stuff like that. If ever we got too carried away and were shouting and stamping on the floor, the cinema lights would come on, and that would be a threat that they'd stop the film if we didn't quieten down a bit. So you'd have loads of cartoons and a small feature, maybe 15 minutes, and then a much longer feature. Like I said, if you had a few bob, you could afford to take a few sweets in with you. So there was special sweets for kids, really. There was something called an everlasting strip. It seemed to be it was probably about a foot long, but very thin toffee. So they were really nice. They lasted quite a long time. One of my favourites was quite a new sweet in the early 60s called Spanish Gold. It looked like worms, really, covered in demerara sugar, but very, very tasty. There used to be a little fruit and vegetable shop just up here on the left, past the Biz Bar. And I don't know why I got them, really, because they didn't have much taste. You get a packet of what we called monkey nuts, so there were peanuts in shells. So get a bag of them and chomp your way through them. And I didn't try to make a mess, like when inevitably there'd be shells all over the floor, like so. I pity the poor cleaners who had to shovel all that stuff up after we'd been in. There was one delicacy which caused a bit of trouble, and that was a Sunderland favourite, the willock. Now, if you don't know what a willock is, it's a small shellfish. I believe it's a periwinkle. If you've got a bucket and you live near Whitburn Rocks, get down there and have an afternoon picking willocks. Now, I never liked them much myself, but so there was a bit of trouble with the willocks, I'm afraid, because they might be quite nice to eat if you had a little pin to scoop them out with. But some bad lads, when the lights went down, a willock was a very handy thing to stop off other kids' heads, and they're quite painful, obviously. So a few parents must have complained, and there was a willock ban. So I came in one morning, I had my bag of monkey nuts, and I was stopped at the door by the commissionaire. He's a little fella. They all wore kind of maroon-coloured uniforms. I think in those days they came from a corps of commissionaires, or ex-army lads. And the commissioner stopped us and he uttered the immortal question, is them willocks? And I said, no, monkey nuts. So he let us in, and there was no further trouble about the willocks. So they had, I'm going to sing here, so I apologise. So most of the Saturday morning clubs, they had a special song that the kids sang. And the manager would get on the stage beforehand and say, come on, boys and girls, let's sing the song. And the song went as follows. We are the boys and girls well known as the miners of the ABC, and every Saturday all line up to see the films we like and shout aloud with glee. We like to laugh and have a sing-song. Such a happy crowd are we. We're all pals together, we're minders of the ABC. And we had to sing the last bit really loud. So back in the early 60s, this was called the Odeon Cinema. And again, my mother always called it the Regal, because until I think 1952 or so, it was called Regal Black's Cinema. Black was like a cinema chain back in those days. Now, my mum had 3 kids in 1960, so I'd be 6, our Linda was 7, and our Graham was 11. So getting 3 kids marshalled and out of the house for a trip to the cinema obviously was no easy task, because for years I didn't really know that you could start at the beginning of the whole program, because we always arrived late. In those days it was a continuous feature. You'd have Pathé News, which is news with the Queen and Prince Philip visiting a safari park in Kenya or something. Then you'd have the B feature, a shorter film, and then you'd have the main feature, wherever that was. So we'd always arrive, I don't know, halfway through the B movie, and I thought that's just what everybody did. Because in those days you'd have usherettes, ladies with nice uniforms and torches to kind of guide you in, and you have to sort of squeeze in past everybody. And you just stay until the whole program finished and then start it again, and you say, oh, this is where we came in, and then would leave. In those days they'd play the national anthem at the end of the program, and it would be a race for kids especially to get out of there, because a lot of adults would stand to attention like while the national anthem played, and then stand till it finished. As kids we weren't interested in doing that. A really good film I saw here was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I think that was 1977. And I knew a lass who worked here today, and I'd get you in for now on my free pass. So I got there early to meet her. She was one of the usherettes, and her and her mates were taking this very seriously. They all had t-shirts with "We Are Not Alone." Sometimes on Saturdays I'd moonlight from the ABC matinee and come down here to the Odeon, and they had a little song as well, which was, I mean, remember this was during the Cold War, like it's a very patriotic one, this. We come along on a Saturday morning, greeting everybody with a smile. We come along on a Saturday morning, knowing it's all worthwhile. As members of the Odeon Club, we all intend to be good citizens when we grow up, and champions of the free. We come along on a Saturday morning, greeting everybody with a smile, smile, smile. Greeting everybody with a smile. And they go through the same routine. The manager will say, no, try it again, try a bit louder. So that was a good laugh. So just behind me, where Primark is, there used to be a very popular cinema. Its real name was the Picture House, but most people call it the Flea Pit. It was a bit on the scuzzy side, it has to be said. And I didn't know until a few years ago, a lot of people called it the Ranch, because there were a lot of cowboy movies on there. So as I said, it was a bit cheaper than the other cinemas, so we quite often used to go. I was there, I remember the date, January 1966, a Saturday afternoon. We were watching a great movie starring Frank Sinatra called Von Ryan's Express. It was a very dramatic movie, but one part there was a bit of a comedy scene. They were sitting together in the rail car, kind of having a bit of a joke, and suddenly along the bottom of the screen came the word Sunderland 2, Newcastle 0. And it was a bit of a Scooby-Doo moment. Everyone went, what? And then everybody cheered because we realised the projectionist had got the score from the match, from being played at that same time, and would beat Newcastle 2-0. So it was a great cheer. I don't know why I wasn't at the game actually, but that's one of my happiest memories of there. The Picture House closed in October 1966, I think it was, and then later on it became the Gannet Pub, later called Digby's and various other names, and now that's what we have today, Primark. So this is progress. We're down High Street East in front of Frank Styles' lovely mural. Now the exact location of this next cinema, I'm not 100%, it was around about here somewhere. It was Studio 1 and 2. I think in a previous existence it had been the Gaiety Cinema, which I don't remember at all, but the same building. So Studio 1 and 2 opened I think about 1971, and they had an interesting mix of programs. The first movie I saw here is one called Zed. I think it means he lives. So it was about the Greek colonel's takeover of Greece in 1967, so pretty heavy stuff. But they had a lot of much lighter material, especially Emmanuel movies and Kung Fu movies and stuff like that. A couple of my mates were in here once watching this Kung Fu movie, and it was very, very badly dubbed into English, and they were at the front. There's a lot of hardcore Kung Fu fans behind them, and they thought this dubbed English was hilarious, like and I tried not to giggle in case they got filled in. By the way, if anybody's interested, I've written a number of books about my memories of Sunderland in the 60s and 70s, and we're outside Sunshine Cooperative in High Street East here. So this is about being a Sunderland fan for 60 years. These are Sunderland poems about nature during the pandemic. This is my mum's memories about growing up from 1930, what it was like during the war. And this is not Sunderland, where it's all about me travels in different countries, Australia, Poland and whatnot like that. So I just want to finish off with a few anecdotes to add to what Tony said in his video. He mentioned a cinema called the Bromarsh, it used to be just at the edge of the bridge, the far side of the bridge on this side. And as Tony mentioned, it was destroyed in 1943 by a Nazi bomb, killing several people. But my mother was born in the Wheatsheaf, not far away, and that was one of her favourite cinemas when she was a child in the late 30s. And I think it was tuppence to get in, tuppence old money, which is about a penny, less than a penny. But you could also get in if you took a large clean jam jar, which sounds very odd like, but that would get you in, a clean jam jar. And right next door to where my mum was born at the Wheatsheaf was, Tony mentioned, the Corra. So it was really very close to my mum's house, so they were always in there. And that was also a very cheap place. I think it was tuppence to get in as well. And she said whenever she thought of oranges, she remembered the Corra, because they sold oranges from a box at the door. And they did have toilets, of course, at the Corra, not very nice outside ones, but maybe it was a horror movie or something. But some patrons didn't wait till they got to the toilet, so you had to lift your feet up sometimes. So the smell of wee and oranges always brings memories of the Corra back to her. So on that happy note, I will say goodbye for now.